After days of calling the allegations baseless lies, Saudi Arabia has admitted to the world that Jamal Khashoggi was killed inside its consulate in Istanbul. It says Khashoggi died as a result of a brawl that broke out with officials who had flown to help him return to Saudi Arabia. Riyadh's admission is a sharp turn for the kingdom, which has always insisted that Khashoggi had left the building 20 minutes after he had entered. Few are buying the latest Saudi narrative.
We know the facts now. The Turks have dripped them out for the last couple of weeks. This is now about a political battle rather than a quest for the truth. Because again, I think we know what the truth is. I think Turkey is going to fight to keep these facts coming out so that the story doesn't die. I think the Turkish government is infuriated that it was so disrespected to have this sort of action happen on its own soil.
Governments around the world are not satisfied with Saudi Arabia's explanation.
Talking about Saudi Arabia, those terrible events which still haven't been cleared up yet, and where we of course demand an explanation.
And close ally Britain says it's considering what next steps to take. The President of the European Parliament has called for an urgent investigation to clarify the circumstances surrounding Khashoggi's death. Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte has echoed those sentiments, saying many questions are still unanswered. Those questions centre around evidence the Turkish government has leaked so far. The 15 men that include several of Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's personal detail, members of Saudi Arabia's Special Forces unit and one of the kingdom's senior autopsy experts that Turkey says flew to Istanbul on October the 2nd when Khashoggi disappeared. CCTV footage clearly shows Meher Mutrib, the man who it's reported led the operation to kill Khashoggi, entering the consulate on that day, a couple of hours before the Saudi journalist went inside. Mutrib was filmed leaving the country with other members of the team later in the day. Friends and colleagues of the murdered journalist on Saturday gathered outside the consulate denouncing the Saudi narrative as lies and demanding justice for Khashoggi.
Today we are calling the whole world on duty. We want justice for Jamal. We want Jamal's murderers to be punished. However, we want punishment not only for the 18 men, but also for the authority that gave the orders.
On Saturday, more footage was leaked, this time of the Saudi journalist with his fiancée entering their new apartment in Istanbul, which they had bought just weeks before he disappeared. In other leaks, Turkish officials also claim that Khashoggi was never interrogated, that he was beaten and killed within minutes by a group that was flown in specifically for that purpose. It seems that Turkey believes this was a premeditated operation to kill him. Saudi Arabia's story of how Khashoggi died was followed by royal decrees that saw some intelligence officials and an advisor to the Crown Prince relieved of their posts. But in an absolute monarchy, many wonder how such an operation could have taken place without the direct order or at least consent and knowledge of de facto ruler Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. The Saudis have released their version of what they say happened in this building, but it's a narrative that very few people, or indeed world leaders, believe. Turkey says Saudi Arabia had no choice but to admit that Khashoggi died in the consulate because of evidence that Turkey says it has obtained. Ankara says it will not allow a Saudi Arabian cover-up, and the investigation continues. The question is, what more evidence do Turkish investigators have? Charles Strafford, Al Jazeera, Istanbul.